Hello, John.
Yeah, hell yeah. Good man. Yes,
Uh, so,
yeah, go ahead.
so there was a documentary on RTE about Michael Smurfit. We have spoke about Michael Smurfit before and his philanthropy in Ireland, particularly like the lovely Anna Livia bronze statue that was commissioned by him uh, for O'Connell Street. And we were saying how that was discarded
That's right,
later
yeah.
by the government and they put a spike there. Anyway, so we're going to talk today about Michael Smurfit and particularly focus on that particular documentary. I'm going to read you out a few things about him and then we'll have a discussion. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So Michael Smurfit was born in the UK. He's known, particularly in Ireland, for the K Club. I think he's also known for the Ryder Cup, if I'm correct. Did he bring the Cup to Ireland? Could have been, I think he did. He did.
He did, yeah, he did,
Okay.
which was fairly unusual because British it was always held somewhere else, never held here, but it was that time because he had this great golf course in the Cape Club.
Yeah, he established that. Okay, so he left school as a teenager. I don't think he went to university, and that's probably why he likes all these doctorates he gets from around the world. But anyway, he left school as a teenager. He became the CEO of the Jefferson Smurfit Group in 1977 and continued to be the CEO until he'd retired from it in 2002. At his peak, he's had employees 42,000 in the Smurfit Kappa group. He lives on a yacht called after his mother, Ann McGee. He commissioned the Anna Livia, as we mentioned already. He lives in Monte Carlo on that particular yacht. He has received a knighthood from the Queen, and he's quite happy with that. As I said, he likes these honors, and I suppose who doesn't like a bit of attention. He received the Cross of Merit with the Gold Star for his support of Christians in the Holy Land, and he established the UCD Michael Smurfit Graduate Business School. This man has achieved an awful lot in his life. When you look at it,
That's right. And he did, and he was busy, busy, busy. If you want to put it that way. But acquiring businesses and making a lot of people redundant and become world renowned, and then was on the stock exchange. And I think that would have meant that when he reached, I think, 70, you're obliged to retire when you're a public company because for some reason you're not expected to be able to contribute that much after that. But be that as it may, that's the rule. So, and some people retire earlier than that because they have enough of being in that sort of position. I think one of his sons now is the chief executive of that Smurfit Kappa group, and they're big all over Europe and the world for that matter. The biggest, I think, in the particular sphere. So, but the documentary was very good. And one of the features that I noticed was that the people that were speaking about him were in the studio, some RTE contributors, and they're pretty good to give them their due. They did a great job. But the overall impression created in some way was a very sad and lonesome figure on this yacht moored in the harbour in Monte Carlo, in Monaco, which received a lot of publicity with Princess Grace being married to this Prince Rainier, and she was killed in a very peculiar accident that a lot of questions was asked about. And she visited this country in her ancestral home, and she was very well thought of by this country and people in it because she brought a certain amount of glamour to this Monaco, Monte Carlo. These Rangers there's a fella there now, the son, I think, he's looks long in the tooth as well. But we're talking about
yeah.
Michael Smurfit. He was christened with a Christian name, and he has this picture of his mother, who was a Catholic from Donegal. His father wasn't, but I think he changed, but he didn't really practice his Catholic faith. And they had a good sized family. They had brothers, and he had one brother, Jefferson. And I just mentioned this in sideways. when I worked in the egg business as a sales manager, the general manager Fred Drew, he they launched a cookbook, and they had the press conference in a hotel in Bridge. I just can't think of the name, but it was in Bridge. But I remember we were out, we were on the balcony. There was a balcony, and we were probably having a coffee or something. But Jefferson Smurfit, that's the brother of Michael. He was fond, and he come in a big car, and a couple of cronies in the hotel that was on the balcony. I joined him and offered to drinking for the day. And that brother wound up in the Isle of Man and died from alcoholic poisoning. Quite frankly, he was an alcoholic. God, may he rest in peace. But Michael Smurfit, I don't know whether he took any drink or anything. I don't think he did, and he concentrated on buying up companies, etc. Until he had to retire, and he wasn't too happy about having to retire because his occupation seemed to be all that. And he married a lady that was a Catholic also, and they had a good sized family, but he was never there. And I think on the documentary, one of his sons referred to that with some kind of, I won't call it bitterness, but stating facts like it's not much good in having two parents and one permanently absent. That's not a great recipe for a happy family in some ways, is it?
It's
Two
not.
parents need to be about and not away, especially the father, because he's supposed to be a bit of a guide and for the family. But so now looking at him on the yacht and sitting on his own, except for the staff that he has in the yacht, and then the people to maintain the condition of the yacht, all costing money. But the fact that he's living on a yacht and not back in this country or somewhere on land is a bit of a mystery as to why anybody would live in that style. It doesn't matter if it's opulent or what have you. It's not the sort of a place that anybody would like to wind up on their own, except for staff.
Yeah, I just want to go back there to you for a second. Okay, when you were saying talking about fatherhood, okay, sometimes business people make a better father to the nation than they do to their own family, and in some ways,
Correct and right.
so in some ways, Michael Smurfit, I would regard him as a father to the nation in the sense that he gave employment to 43,000 people. He created the Michael Smurfit Business School. He's done lots of philanthropy around the world and in Ireland. So he was kind of a father to the nation. I don't know what kind of a father he was in private life, but sometimes that's a good point to make that sometimes businessmen are a father to the nation, you know.
Right. And as you rightly say, one of the great things that he did, which I liked in O'Connell Street when it was a proper wide street, was the fountain and all the rest of it. But unfortunately, we're saddled with a very, what I call media that is actually disgraceful. Beauty seems to escape them
Hmm.
completely. And fountain, they were called it the Juicy and the Koozie or something,
Bluesy and
something
the jacuzzi,
vulgar.
yeah.
Aye, well, it was very, very nice, and and there was a fountain. People were quite happy. I often saw them sitting there, and they didn't look gloomy. O'Connell Street was such a wide street; it had a beauty about it, and trees along it, and clearings open, and all the rest of it. It was a very nice street, and his what he did beautified it, in my opinion. And also on O'Connell Bridge, there was flowers and all the rest of it. It was actually a very pleasant city to visit and even to live in, which I lived in Dublin at the time. And it was a lovely city. It just attracted people, quite frankly. And husbands and their wives used to window shop on a Sunday. That was part of the times that they did after attending Holy Mass because churches was packed in them times. All these changes that came about, and the fact that this government and city council seem to me to be absolutely irresponsible in the way that they have destroyed that lovely street with too much widened footpaths when there's no pedestrians. series is not open. I think it's going to be something else, different shops rented here, there, and yonder, and maybe a hotel or something. And Buyers in North Elm Street was closed by one of the directors of Arnott's property developer that wouldn't know the value of a shop in a fit. And that was a lovely shop and a lovely restaurant upstairs. So the whole lot has been neglected, in my opinion. And Dublin is not a place that anybody would wish to visit too much because it's just destroyed compared to what it was. And Michael Smurfit did his best to beautify it, and he succeeded. And the business school, I don't think he was that happy about it being called after him. He didn't want that sort of, but however, that's what it's called. So he did a good lot of good, as you rightly say, but his family maybe suffered as a result.
I think that, like, for a man who didn't actually go to college himself, he actually established the Michael Smurfit Graduate Business School in an area that he was an
Yeah.
expert. It was nice, you know.
Yes, it was, yeah. So we have to give credit where credit is due, but at the same time, the fact now that he's on seems to be on his own. He has a family, and nobody was there to sort of wish him well or something. There, I don't know what way it is, but it didn't look. He looked a very lonesome figure to my way of thinking. Now he has his mother there as a guide, and I think that indicates there's a certain longing for that type of background that he came from, and I think he obviously loved his mother. She was there as a great anchor, I think. And I was
If
just looking
I
at this.
if
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
if I remember correctly, back in 1986 when they established the Anna Livia monument, that was also dedicated to his mother, or if I remember correctly. I was very young at the time.
You are, yeah. So he has a great gra for his mother, and that's always a good thing
That's
because
nice.
if it wasn't for your mother, we wouldn't be here in some ways. So
Hmm.
we have to thank our mothers at the in the end, because without them we wouldn't be here, and of course
Yeah.
without the father we wouldn't be here either.
Hmm.
So these are the great gifts that our mothers bring to us, and so we have a great regard for them in many ways. And Michael Smufford is no different. But it would be great if if we could see on his yacht something like a cross like that. And seeing as how he's that fond of his mother, that he wouldn't be fond of his uh, Mary, our mother that Jesus bestowed on us in the cross. When he said to John the Apostle, "Behold your mother," and said to Son, "Behold your mother," and then bequeathing to mankind our Blessed Mother as our mother, which is a great gift that our Savior gave us. And I'm just thinking that Michael Smurfit, christened with a good Catholic name, Michael. There's some other names that I never know what to stand for. They're like surnames. Some people that's called, I don't know what way they were baptized or what they turned out to be. But there's a little picture about the Divine Mercy, and you see a lad at confession, and the priest is there, but our Saviour Jesus behind. And I think Michael Smurfit, seeing as how he's that, fond of his mother, he'd want to sort of practice the Catholic faith that she had. And this is a diary of Saint uh, Maria Faustina Kowalski, so she's properly named. I'm reading a little book in the morning in my prayer time about Sister Maria Faustina, but she's her proper name is here, and it says, "Today the Lord said to me, daughter, when you go to confession, in this fountain of my mercy, the blood and water which came forth from my heart always flows down upon your soul and ennobles us." There was a bit more, but I think Michael would be as well to sort of go down that road at this stage if he hasn't already gone down it. Would be my opinion. He's still a consul, apparently, in Monte Carlo, because there was a little episode showing him going into this office. I don't know whether it's the Irish consul that he got when he located to Monte Carlo. I think for tax reasons more than anything else. That'd be my opinion because it was considered a tax haven, the same as one time the Isle of Man was considered a tax haven. I don't know whether it is now. And then there was another place, the Cayman Islands was another tax, but he's in Monte Carlo, but now he's on the boat, so he's not on terra firma, shall we say, except when he visited uh, being he's still a consul
I
apparently.
I just want to go back to loneliness for a second. You said that he cut a lonely figure on the boat, and of course it would have been
He
nice to
did,
see him. It would have been nice to see him with his family, with his daughter and sons, and and his
it
wife.
was.
But the thing about it is sometimes living on a boat, a luxurious yacht, can be a way of counteracting loneliness. This is the irony in it, because you see, when you're on a yacht, you're surrounded by all your staff, and they're within a short distance away. They're at your beck and call. You can maneuver that boat to the nearest hospital very quickly if you have to go. Probably quicker than you can go through the streets of Monte Carlo. Okay, so you can maneuver very quickly, and compare that to living in a mansion. If he decided, Michael Smurfit decided to live in a mansion in Wicklow, this big sprawling mansion, he's guess all his staff are not. He doesn't know where they are. Whereas on the yacht, they're confined to the yacht.
Well, there's that aspect to it, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't like to end my life on any kind of a yacht or a boat of that caliber in that condition. Quite frankly, it just seemed the loneliest looking place that a person could wind up. You need companionship aside from mansions that you were talking about. I mean, there's such a thing as companions. I mean, maybe the way they presented the program, they wanted to focus on that aspect, the RTE. But I'm quite sure he must have some friends. He couldn't be just there on his own like that all the time. I don't think. And there must be somebody visiting him. He must have some friends, business acquaintances, and what have you.
I'm sure he's
Even
loads.
though he says now, yeah. But if the program would have an objective, and they want to present a person in a certain light, they showed his achievements earlier on, and so on and so forth. But it seemed, I don't know whether it was the way the program was presented, but it presented a very lonely figure, in my opinion, quite frankly. I know if that was their objective to do that, we don't know, do we? I mean, I don't think Michael Smurfit could be on that boat on his own, just with staff. I'm sure he must have a few friends
Of course he does. But the thing about it
called,
is,
and his family must call to her.
there was one aspect of Michael Smurfit that reminded me of you. Would you believe that now?
Go ahead.
There's a flattery here now, John Malone, for you, huh? There
Yeah,
was
well,
one
how was
aspect.
that?
Okay, I think somewhere in the documentary it said that, or did I read it somewhere that Michael Smurfit, if you were going to see him, okay, he had a time slot for you, and like if it's 7 o'clock, that that he's going to bed, or 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the evening, that's it. Your time is up. Good luck to you. John Malone is a bit like that because John Malone will say, "Okay, I'm going to bed at 9 o'clock. That's it. No more calls. Goodbye."
Well, I go about half to it, or maybe sometimes a bit later if there's something on the night, but I normally just cut off and I might read a bit, and I do read a bit. But I find when you reach a certain age, you're, I suppose, not as active because when you're younger, you're actually about all hours going hither and yon. But as the clock winds up, you find that your whatever it is that you have a different outlook or a better outlook in many ways because the world doesn't bother you in any shape. Well, it doesn't bother me. And the documentary was good that you sent. And I was delighted to see because the only TV I look at is EWTN, and even then I don't look at the news much because they often go down a road that I'm not that keen on. I like a bit of good news.
You like a bit of good
That's
news.
my trouble,
Well,
and that's why. Yeah,
I think that Michael Smurfit's story is a good news story. He did look a bit lonely on the boat. I agree with that. Maybe he was having a bad
yeah,
day or something.
yeah,
But he's achieved an awful lot. I mean, he's fantastic. I mean, when you
yeah.
look at his achievements, I would like to see more
Well,
about
yeah.
his other interests, his other hobbies. It didn't really go into that. It was more focused on his achievements, really, that documentary.
Yeah, and I suppose there's another program there waiting to be done. I wonder would we be able to do it? To find out a bit more about the other aspect of his life, because it's not all, the focus on the business and all the rest of it, and the business and the yacht and sitting on his own, and that. So that seemed to me to have an agenda, quite frankly, to present him in such a way that you couldn't see much jollity, could you? And I'm sure he must crack an odd joke. He couldn't have achieved what he did going around with a sour face, I don't think.
Well, he,
He
funny
must have
enough,
had
he
some.
was always, if I remember correctly, through my teen years and my 20s, he was someone that I admired very much. And he was always quite
Yeah,
jolly. He was always had a smile. So he was
correct.
always very satisfied in what he's
Right, that's
doing,
what
you
I
know?
think, and I'm sure when you're like that, you continue, no matter what age you are, to be that way, because I'm that way myself, and it was always that way. So, and it's one of the great gifts that you have, the gift of the gab, and you like a bit of company and so on and so forth. And it doesn't matter when you're on your own, like I am, at home, you're not lonely,
Yeah,
quite frankly, quite the reverse, because you can do things that you wouldn't do if there was somebody there. You have to attend to them too, only
yeah,
rightly so. But when you're on your own, as I am, well, then you do things that you wouldn't normally be able to do if you had somebody with you.
yeah.
So that's a great gift, and I have that gift. So I'm sure Michael Smurfit has it as well, but it didn't focus on that. I think there's room for another program there to show the sociability aspect.
John Malone, I think you're right. And, there's no
And
better.
the jolly aspect. And ask him something about his faith, because the fact that his mother was a Catholic tells me that he has that in his DNA, if you like. And but they didn't bring that out because they don't exactly support that type of thing in the broadcast in our RTE. They don't support that aspect of a person's life. They focus on something else. But I think we'd be focusing on something other than the temporal business. We'd be trying to see what makes him tick, because he must have had faith in something to achieve what he achieved and to
that-
do what he did.
That's it. Well, I'll send him on the link. He can have a link to this video. I'm sure he might get in touch with us and we'll do a better documentary.
Exactly. We most certainly would, and you'd be quite capable of being a good interviewer yourself, and to bring out the other aspect of his sociable aspect and his spiritual aspect, because I think we all have that. Only sometimes it's never focused on by the media. Quite frankly, they don't draw that out of a person, but we will. And so that's a good idea if you could forward that on, Oliver, because we admired him in many ways. He achieved a lot and he did a lot of good.
That's it.
Unfortunately, in business, you have to make some harsh decisions, and it means people are put in the scrap heap before their time, and that's always a very hard thing. But I was put on the scrap heap because companies closed. We had so many strikes here, and Divin knows what. When I was at the height of my powers, if you like, and I had to change ship because the best of companies closed. Too many
No,
strikes. No strikes now, and no tribunals or nothing. We
there
look
you
up
go.
for tribunals and sort of bad news coming right at every angle.
Thank you
And
very much.
when petrol strikes you had to queue up to get a drop of petrol.
That's it. Thank you very much, John.
Okay, Oliver. So we hope we can do an interview with Michael Smurfit and bring out his other qualities other than his success in business. Bring out his spiritual aspect and his good humour and his friends, perhaps.
Very good. Okay. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you very much, Oliver.
And
Cheery boy.